Charles Hoskinson broadcasting live from warm, sunny Colorado. Always warm, always sunny, sometimes Colorado. Today is May 19th, 2021. It is an interesting day, a bloody day, bloody Wednesday. Ugh. I woke up this morning and I saw the markets go, why no? And of course, there's blood in the streets. And for the grizzled veterans of the cryptocurrency space, we just looked at it and said, all right, well, it's another Wednesday. And then for all the newcomers who came, fair weather, they just recently joined the cryptocurrency space. They're just panicking like crazy. Like, oh my God, I've just lost everything. Oh God, crypto's a scam. Oh no, what do? I have to sell my kidney. And then by the end of the day, things recovered a little bit. I think ADA went from this weekend like 230, 240, all the way down to $1.03. Holy shit. And then rebounded to about 160, which is ironic though. For the week, I think we're still up. Bitcoin's down 35%, Ethereum's down 45%. And it just goes to show you frontier markets are like the Oregon Trail. Sometimes you have beautiful mountain vistas and oh God, it's an incredible experience. And sometimes you wake up and a rattlesnake's bitten your ass and not going to change. So today is our AMA. It's very special, raw, uncensored Charles Hoskinson. You guys get to ask the questions and I provide the answers. You might not like them. You might complain about them, but at least they're always fun. Usually I start with a little bit of news about things going on, but first I have something that was sent to me by some fans. Check this shit out. Okay. All right. Okay. How about that from the NFTY guys? That's really pretty. I'll bring it a little closer. And we also have this lovely metal plate. It is really remarkable to see what's happening in the collectible and NFT space. And we're doing a lot of really hard work. And we've been working with a client. I think it might be public knowledge, but because I didn't check, I'll hold off on it. But we've been working and doing a lot of different things. We've been consulting with a lot of the NFT marketplaces, and it's really cool and exciting to see all the things that are going to be coming with Alonzo. The march towards Alonzo has been relentless. No one is sleeping right now. We're going to color code it and release it in stages. So it will be Alonzo blue and then Alonzo white, and all those color codings and what they mean and how they're rolling out are going to be discussed at the Cardano 360 event. Exactly, I think 1 week, 8 days from today. I think it's Thursday next week that we're going to discuss all of that. And we'll talk a lot about what we've learned, what we're doing, where we're currently at. We're on schedule for the most part. Things are coming along. We're discovering a lot along the way, and it's very exhausting to fix those things. However, I think we're in week 7 of the Plutus Pioneers program, and we've learned a huge amount from them. There's a great developer Discord where of the 1,500, about 500 are extremely active. And then there's also 8 development companies that have been retained to just basically play around and do cool and interesting things on Cardano. In particular, I'm really interested to seeing things like a Uniswap clone and AgeUSD and other such things rolled out and deployed on Cardano. And we've already seen a lot of DeFi applications starting to raise money, talk about their things and so forth. I tend not to talk about them too much because I don't want to play favorites, because there's going to be multiple of these things floating around. And if I say, well, there's this cool thing, I didn't mention the other cool thing, and that's an unfair competitive advantage. So I try to stay neutral in all these types of things. But all things considered, we're where we need to be. We're moving really quickly. We're going to announce at the end of the month when the Goguen Summit is going to be and where the Goguen Summit is going to be for those lucky enough to attend in-person events. But that's all I care to say about announcements today. So let's get to your questions, comments, concerns, pithy commentary, and so forth. And a love from Genesis 8629. And right above it, that's the one I was actually going to click. Hey, Charles, maybe a comment on the absolute bloodbath. Yeah, well, Tim, you might have come in a little late, but welcome to crypto. That's how crypto works. Goes way up, goes way down. You guys can't get 900% gains without expecting some pullbacks. That's how the world works. Crypto is very volatile. It's very unstable. And as a consequence, understand that. It's a frontier market. And the point here is we're reconstructing society. And we all know that by doing that, there's trillions, if not tens of trillions of dollars of collective value in the activity. But where does that value go? It's just like the internet. Somebody comes to you, and they did the whole Earth catalog. I think it was back in the 1960s or 1970s. And they said, we're going to one day invent something that will instantaneously move information anywhere for basically free. In a world of books, a world of libraries, a world of proprietary knowledge and closed systems, the concept of instantaneously moving information anywhere instantly, crazy knowledge, crazy notion, free information, free knowledge. You don't have to go to Harvard. You can be in Zimbabwe and get a Harvard education because you can access the course catalog and read the books. No one would have believed that. And when it became apparent that that's coming, everybody knew that was going to change everything. But could you have picked Google in 1992 or Facebook? I think Zuckerberg was like 8 years old or something like that at that time period. Come on. So that's the point, and that's why these bloodbaths exist. The markets have a hard time pricing innovation, and they have a hard time picking proper winners and losers, and there tends to be over enthusiasm and over justification for all kinds of things. And then there's a pullback, and there's cycles and waves, and then people get overly pessimistic and they throw the baby out with the bathwater, just like they did with the dot-com boom and bust. And at some point we converge to something. What influence has China had on the recent Bitcoin demise? There is a decoupling of the third gens, with the exception of Ethereum, which I guess is a second gen until F2 comes out, from Bitcoin. If you look at a lot of these coins, they actually tend to be disconnected from the value of Bitcoin at the moment. So Bitcoin could go down, but they're going up. That is a very good thing for the industry. China has enormous influence and control over Bitcoin, from the hash rate to the ownership and distribution of BTC to the use and utility of BTC to evade capital controls. Anytime China does something, shakes the can, it hurts Bitcoin. It's a shame for the industry, and it's a shame that that government keeps doing what it does. But it is what it is. Michael Hayes, Miami. Yes, I will be in Miami in June. We're going to host a community event. We're already booking a venue. I think only 300 people can fit in the venue at a given time. So we'll see what happens with it. But I will be there. I'll give a little speech, and we'll try to cater it and give some drinks and free swag and things like that. And I look forward to seeing all you guys there. Have you ever met Michael Saylor? I think I may have actually gone through the Saylor educational curriculum. I think he might be connected to that, but I've never actually met him as a person. I don't know a lot of these old guard guys. They never talk to me, and when they do, they're usually condescending or have strong opinions about things. I guess I'm part of the new guard, and I feel a lot more comfortable, I tell you, being in a bar in Wyoming than I do being in a boardroom in New York. Maybe that's my problem, but it's worked out pretty well for me. When is Lex? We're recording June 11th. After that, it's his tape. Whenever he wants to release it, he will release it. Hey, Charles, what do you think about Tether? One thing that I saw today that was absolutely amazing is Tether actually went between 89 cents to like $1.10. It's supposed to be pegged. And so I'm a little surprised about that. When in Toronto? Well, when are you guys going to end your insane lockdown? Not necessary. Has Elon got back to you? Nope. Not once. And actually, some of his close friends who have his personal phone number texted him the video that I did. He still didn't call me back. He's a strange guy. But, let's talk about Dogecoin there for a second. The point of the video that I made, spending 8 minutes going through 11 different resources, was to show how much work and thought goes into a competitive cryptocurrency these days. Even if you're a small cap like Harmony or any of these guys like Solana or so forth, there's an enormous amount of thought, effort, and building that's gone to producing these protocols and growing them out. Doge is based on a copy of a copy. It's built on Litecoin. And it's an old code base. There's nothing compelling or interesting there. And so if you actually want to come in and say, it's the standard, okay, great. I rolled out a collection of technologies that would not only make it a standard, would actually make Doge one of the most powerful and interesting cryptocurrencies in space. Now, a good engineering team that really knows what they're doing, who's familiar with our space and our technology, probably could get it done in about 1 to 2 years. That roadmap that I laid out. Doing stupid things like just increasing the block size or attempting to increase transaction throughput. Oh wow, why didn't I think of that? Oh wow, doesn't work. There's a variety of reasons for that, and they've been debated and discussed, not in 2021, but in 2012, in 2011. Go talk to Gavin and Drayson. Go talk to all these old people who, like Mike Hearn and others who were in the space in the early days. But you have this new guy comes on in. He says, "Well, I was the CEO of PayPal, so I understand how all this works." Okay, yeah, it's like saying you were the CEO of Western Union, and therefore you're qualified to speak on our things. Not a good look. I don't think he's going to take me up on it. I don't think he's even going to pay attention to me because I'm lowly Charles Hoskinson. Who cares? And that's a shame that he actually is not serious about improving Doge. This is why I got so upset about the whole affair. If he was some rogue billionaire who said, I am going to go be the custodian and take care of these people, I'd be like, great. It would be amazing to get SpaceX and Tesla engineers to work part-time on a cryptocurrency. In that environment, with those credentials, with that knowledge, I think a lot of good things could happen. But this has nothing to do with actually improving something and adding to our space. It has everything to do to placate ego and vanity. And the people who pay for that are going to be everybody who follows the Pied Piper. And we know where that leads. How is the ranch? It's very good. How's your Japanese? Sugoi. Still saying always sunny Colorado sometimes. You're such a toolbox. Well, great sage, you're the one listening and I'm the one talking. Must be doing something right. Why did Mark Cuban try to make it sound like you were in an episode of Shark Tank? I don't know. I'm probably actually richer than he is and a much younger age. I think he'd trade for me any day of the week, the position I'm in. Less responsibilities, too. And you know, it was a great exchange. There were over 200,000 people on YouTube viewed the video, and we got probably equivalent amount on Twitter. I gained about 20,000 followers, I think, between YouTube subscriptions and Twitter subscriptions. We got a lot of positive press. I think I was even in the Independent, or it might have been the Elon Musk video for that. But a lot of great press, and I think we came out far ahead on that exchange. I don't know how inviting somebody to your home is a red flag. The governor of Wyoming and other people come, and a lot of other guests who come. There are plenty of billionaires that have been petting my donkeys throughout the years. So it was a sign of respect for his position in business and being a new entrant into our space. The reality is, when we talk about cryptocurrencies, we're talking about a very nuanced thing that contains many moving pieces, some which are investable, some are not. There are a lot of scams. There's a lot of bad notions. There's a lot of things that are sexy and up and coming, like snark technology. And there are a lot of things that are roads to nowhere, like Nakamoto proof of work and so forth. And that's a conversation. You have it with whiskey. You sit down, you spend hours talking about it. You go back and forth. You give specific examples. You talk about choke points in the industry. You can do a business model canvas for all kinds of things, like how are we going to innovate supply chain or so. And is any of that Cardano specific? Does any of that have a pitch to buy ADA? No. It was a nice thing to do for a person I admire. And then that's a red flag? Okay. I think sometimes people just develop too much ego with their position. One of the best things about having farm animals is they will shit on you regardless if you're a billionaire or you're broke. Okay. They don't give a crap who you are, what you've done, your credentials, and how much people love you over the internet. Got to feed them at the same time. Got to take care of them. It can be -30 outside, windstorm, brutal cold, and you're the person who they rely upon. And no amount of prestige will excuse away that responsibility and that reality. That's why I highly recommend the bigger you get, the more counterbalance you do for that. I have in my office right here in Arrow Garden It's a good product. It's got 9 herb pods in it. And I'm growing basil and all kinds of cool things. You know what? I have to take care of it. I have to pour water into it. I have to put food into it. Nothing would break my heart more than showing up, seeing all those plants be brown. The same for the hydroponics outside that I'm growing lettuce with. Now, again, no matter who I am, that's a universal responsibility. And we should never forget that as people, where we come from, and that common thread that the things we do don't define us. It's how we act. And it's what we do for others that define us, not the things we do for ourselves. Charles, that beautiful design on the website has a memory leak. It provides no value to users. Easier, please update your website. Thank you, Joey Sanchez. We are updating. As many of you are aware, we're moving from IOHK to IOG. I'm going to be very heavily involved in the month of June in the rebrand and redesign, and we will have a totally new website and a new web domain, and it'll redirect, in which case we're going to redo our animations, and we're going to do them properly. I know that they have some flaws and problems, and we're working real hard to get that done. Smart contracts, please. Already answered the question. Pay attention. Favorite philosopher, Bertrand Russell. Saul Kripke is the other one. Love them both. Tarski's pretty good too. Matt Piper would love to send you a bonsai to go with your garden collection. Matt, if you can find me, send it to me. I'll take it. Can you talk more about Mithril and Hydra? The papers are being published. I think Mithril we're submitting on the 27th of this month, and I think the Hydra update is also going to make this month. So we'll have a Hydra section in the Cardano 360 episode, and I believe we're also going to record for Mithril as well. We'll have Agalos do something, or Puros. Very exciting stuff. So that's in 8 days. You guys can wait for that. When Puerto Rico, I'm not moving to Puerto Rico. Yeah, it's kind of funny. You got all these Bitcoin maxis who run around and say, we're so big and so great. And then they go to Wyoming, they expect to be treated like royalty. Say, what jobs have you created? What have you actually done there? You're not really responsible for those 24 new laws, are you? And then what do? They run to Puerto Rico to evade taxes. you know, Puerto Rico is an interesting place, beautiful place. I'm going to be probably going there soon to talk to some aquaponics people in Puerto Rico. But every fucking week, somebody reaches out to me and says, you should move there to not pay taxes. I don't mind paying taxes. It's never been a problem for me. I don't care what the rates are. What I care is they're responsibly used. And, I do what I do. But the whole concept of living in a completely foreign environment just so that you can save a little bit of money. Did you ever hear of the counter proposal of just make more money? A lot of people who are leaving California aren't leaving California because they are paying a 14% tax rate. That wasn't the straw that broke the camel's back. No more so than a lot of people leaving New York are tired of paying the city tax and the state taxes and so forth. They're leaving because there's tons of crime and a terrible homeless problem and horrible infrastructure and 3 hours of traffic. And they feel like nothing is getting better. It's getting worse day by day and more difficult day by day. I know a person in Silicon Valley, his Tesla has been broken into 9 times, 9 times, no charges. So they leave. Colorado, Wyoming, beautiful places. Wyoming, where I'm at, more so. It's incredible. Puerto Rico is beautiful too, but it's not my cup of tea. Also, Voltaire was not good. See, Leibniz, the creator of calculus. It's true, Leibniz did beat Newton to calculus, but Newton published first. First to publish kicks your ass. Leibniz also had this wonderful construction of metaphysics, and he, like Newton, was an occultist. And he practiced all kinds of bizarre occultism. Unlike Newton, he didn't play around with mercury, so he didn't go crazy towards the end of his life. 50 Cent was shot 9 times. Yes, sir. That's why 9mm are his favorite. 9 times 9mm. Hi, Charles. You inspire me. Much love from Nigeria. Well, thank you, Clinton. Much love for you guys too. Lagos is a beautiful city. It's the only place in Nigeria I've been, but I do want to see the countryside, and I definitely will spend some time next time I'm out. You need to meet Buenos Aires. I've been there in Buenos Aires. We have an office there, actually. We work with a sister company called ATIX, and they've been part of the Cardano family for 5 years. They're led by Alan Verbner, and just a really lovely area. It's nearby the Pink House. And I just love going down there. So I'm so, after this pandemic recedes, going to go and just eat way too much steak. And it's the bread that gets you. That's what makes you fat. When Mastering Cardano book, Jim Caldwell is signed up, and we sent the grant over. It's quite a bit relative to the size of the project, but we really wanted to get done as a project of University of Wyoming at the Blockchain Technology Lab. And throughout the year, we're going to be building and building and building on it. And I think towards the end of the year, we'll have a really nice first draft. So I'll get back to you guys on it. But Jim is he's the former department chair of the computer science department, and wonderful academic, comes out of Cornell, and he's a PL expert, and he's been teaching in Wyoming for a long time. So highly recommend his work. Charles, is it real that you talked to some of the government officials in the Philippines? Yes, I did. Special economic zone just outside of Freeport economic zone. It was Batalan, and Joseph Garcia and the governor and the rest of the gang. And I said, throw something our way and we'll figure it out. I'll create some jobs if you guys can give us something. So we're working on it. That's in Jerry's realm now. Very friendly, though. I like the Philippines. Charles, your thoughts on the Illuminati? Well, besides those amazing geometrically perfect masks behind me and all the strange parties and ceremonies I go to and that infinity gauntlet, they obviously don't exist. Are you fasting now? No, I'm not. Just got back from Wyoming. Vacations in Greece? Well, Lord Almighty, you've offended my delicate sensibilities. Well, of course, you got Mykonos and Scorpius. You got Isle of Capri. You got, all kinds of things you could go to in Greece, the Aegean Peninsula. Charles, is it intentional that the Cardano logo is slightly out of alignment? No, that's just your lazy eye. Favorite D&D module, deities and demigods. You'll have to ask which edition. Word on your video game company. I know where I'm going to base it. I'm going to base it in Wheatland, Wyoming. So that's something, and I got to name the damn thing. But we'll probably start working on it in 2023 or 2022. Excuse me. Originally, I was going to start it this year, but I just don't have time for a project like that. So I'm doing a biotech company with my dad and brother. We're already incorporated, Hoskinson Biotechnologies. How about that? And I'll have more for you on that in probably about 6 months to a year. And then after that gets stabilized and I have the ability to build a crew in Wheatland, we'll do it. And we have some great people we can bring on board. And I already have probably a good 30 ideas I can go and roll with. I'd like to redo the gold box engine. For those of you who are in the know, in the late 80s, early 90s, gold box was used for a lot of Dungeons and Dragons games like Gateway to the Savage Frontier and Treasures of the Savage Frontier, Pool of Darkness, Pool of Radiance. And for its time, it was a marvel, and they were really fun games. What I'd like to do is update that concept, but add beautiful, beautiful, beautiful graphics to that same game design mechanic and put in soundtracks and all the other things, and a much better journal system instead of having to have your companion book with your journal entries to save space. And then in every 6 months to a year, be on a release cycle where title came out. I think like 13 or 14 games were released under the Gold Box engine. So that's one direction. Another was the Legends of Valor project, and I have the IP. I just have to do something with it. And I'd like to make it as a AAA game, and I have both the game and the sequel to the game figured. And the third thing that I was looking at was licensing intellectual property from Games Workshop, specifically the Warhammer 40K universe, and continuing on what was started with Dawn of War as an RTS, but doing it the right way. That would be fun. It'd also be good to see maybe a first person shooter in the Warhammer universe is pretty cool. It's never really been done the way it needs to be done. But I love that universe, and the IP can be licensed, and there's a lot that can be done. So those are the three main areas that I think you can have an endless river of intellectual property, because once you build Legends of Valar, you have a world, so you can do what Bethesda's done with the Elder Scrolls series and just fill it out as a series of sequels. With the gold box engines, that's a model for every 6 months to a year releasing a title, because they're fairly easy to build. And once you have that engine built, and you make the engine open source, and so you can use it in game development pedagogy as well. And then the Warhammer universe, there's an unlimited amount of things to do there. Papa Nurgle says so. Then the other thing I'd like to do is some academic work in games. So CMU had a great project called Spectre or Scepter, I think it was, for generative dialogue. And it's kind of like Zork or all these other games from way in the day, in the 1980s, that do like generative text. Event Zero was the last game that I've seen that actually followed that thread. But I think what's happened was GPT-3, and that whole path that generative dialogue games where you interact and it generates dialogue on the fly are really going to get good. Also, things like hyperbolic geometry, non-Euclidean geometry, and so forth. Eisenhorn and Warhammer Universe did that with the Necrotouche. And there's been some, if you Google go to YouTube and you do non-Euclidean geometry games, there's a really cool YouTube video actually showing a non-Euclidean geometry engine. So experiments like that, where you play around with alternative physics systems, different geometric systems, hyperdimensional spaces, variation of time, and so forth. Those are really cool theoretical game design mechanics to be augmented with really cool theoretical AI mechanics. And then you can either integrate those into the prior three mentioned titles, or you can actually create experimental games. So that's what we're going to be doing. And we'll see how it goes. It'll be a lot of fun. Also do a lot of soundtracks and a lot of music. Algorithmically generated music was one thing I was looking at. So you never have a stale soundtrack. And there's really cool stuff like Euterpe, for example, in the Haskell community. If you Google Euterpe, I think. I can never remember how to spell it, but Euterpe music, close enough, Haskell. It'll come up. It's a Yale project. And there's a dozen other really cool generative music frameworks that you can use and program with that allow you to do really interesting and novel things. In addition to that, traditional soundtracks. If I do set up a game development company in Wheatland, I will start a symphony in Wheatland as well, because I'm probably going to be using that symphony a lot for recording music titles. And also, I love the symphony, and having a nice symphony nearby would be pretty cool. Thoughts on SafeMoon working with the Gambia? I have not heard about it. Send it my way. How does adrenochrome taste? I think that's like connected to the whole child pedophile, New World Order, QAnon conspiracy thing. Dude, there is no fountain of youth in children. Okay, you want to reverse aging? Use a hyperbaric chamber and use exosomes. That's your path to doing that, along with intermittent fasting or caloric reduced diets, and get used to things like NAD. If it was so simple to just like grab children, suck something out of them like a movie, and reverse aging, it would be a common practice right now, especially in China. But you QAnon people, you can't connect to reality, can you? You really can't. You don't need any evidence behind bizarre beliefs. You just believe it. How 5G technology will impact Cardano? We have something brewing. Can't talk much about it, but yeah, it's big and it's good. It's really good. And you guys are going to be very pleasantly surprised. Hey, Charles, a little update about the project in Ethiopia. We're hiring. We'll be at 40, 50 staff members, I think, by the end of the year. Contract is signed, executed. We've entered into the execution phase, and we'll provide updates with the Cardano 360. But we're going to probably broaden the brand to IO 360, and Cardano 360 is a component. And we may continue the Africa special with some degree of regularity. But yeah, it's now execution mode. It'll take months to years to roll out through the entire thing, but we'll just keep pushing it. Is something on fire? No. It's the humidifier. Colorado's quite dry. Is Ouroboros Turing complete? No consensus algorithm is Turing complete. Try again. You're almost there. You're talking about the programming language, and the answer is yes, Plutus is. Well, it's quasi-Turing because it's gas metered, but for all intents and purposes, that's the same thing. What do you think about Montana? My dad is from Montana. He was born in Oregon, but he grew up Miles City and in Big Timber. And my grandfather used to have a ranch out in Big Timber. And some of my fondest memories were actually going up to that ranch and spending some time out there. And I said, you know what? One of these days I'm going to buy a ranch. And I did, because I wanted to replicate that. And I got something even better that I can now share with my family. Why 5-finger shoes? Well, because I don't have polydactyly, and as a consequence, don't need 6-finger shoes. And I think they're called distals, right? Greetings from Sheridan, Wyoming. Thank you, Joe Dirt. Ergo going to be huge. It's going to be huge. Only if you guys want it to be. Guys, when I click something, it moves so quickly. What tree is behind you? I don't have a tree behind me. That's a mask. Peacock mask. No, Ezio, I've never played Assassin's Creed. Stupid Napoleon. Hey, Charles, I emailed you from my CU email. Oh, you didn't send it to my CU email? Although I don't think it's currently maintained anymore. I don't even know how to log in. I forgot my password. In regards an interview, wondering if you've seen it. SKO Buffs. Let's go Buffs. Yeah, well, Tristan, you didn't live during the Dan Hawkins era, or else you'd have very different feelings about the CU Buffaloes. I was very traumatized, as were all my fellow classmates, about that. Yeah, I suppose you could come by the office, or I could drop by the campus. I don't even know if it's still open or not. It'd be good to actually go see the C4C again, or go to the Alfred Packer Grill. We actually, this shows you one thing you have to know about CU Boulder. They gave the students the right to name something. They said, hey, let's have democracy. And I think it was back in the 1970s. And they said, all right, well, we don't want them to name a building because we sell those names. They're Benson or Sciences and so forth. Big donors get that. So let's let them name the cafeteria at the University Memorial Center. And they said, okay. And they named it the Alfred Packard Grill. And the tagline is to serve humanity. And Alfred was a known cannibal who, I think it was the Donner Party, ate other people. So that's the Bodie McBoatface of CU Boulder. Great place, great campus, wonderful people, wonderful mathematicians there like David Grant and Peter Elliott and Dr. Tubbs and the rest of the gang. They're all getting a little older. I think Don Monk may have finally retired. He was the last person I knew that was connected to Tarski. That shows you how old Don Monk was. When I was there, he was old. I miss it. When will you meet Mark Cuban? Well, Marky Mark has an open invitation. Come out to the ranch or the farm. It's up to him. What are your thoughts on the Horizon project? Well, I'll keep them very private. I like Rob. And actually, he just finished his PhD in finance. Congratulations, Rob. And he's got a very lovely wife and a beautiful kid. He's got a good life. He's a good man. Proof of work greater than proof of stake. You are 100% right. Proof of work dramatically consumes more energy and is significantly slower than proof of stake. Thank you for pointing that out, Bope. Do you still eat old pizza? Would I have a belly like this if I didn't? Yes, sir, I do. Why is age USD important? Because we like things like value stability. What's your favorite whiskey? Well, it depends on, is it a strong, angry whiskey or a good, smooth drinking whiskey? Chivas Regal 25 is probably one of the best drinking whiskeys. And Hibiki Harmony is another really good drinking whiskey, like an angry whiskey that kicks you in the face. It's an older Macallan, 21, 25 years old. Yeah, that's a whiskey that kicks you. Oh, we rough and tumble, eh? Charles, are you going to chat with Sophia as previously advertised? Just answer the question, please. Yes, I am. I think actually we're scheduling the interview for the Cardano 360 episode. So we'll see if we can get that done. But it's in the calendar, and I cannot wait to talk to her. And I'll see what I can do about tripping her up. I'll pull a Captain Kirk. Like, this sentence is a lie. Like, no, can't handle. Unless she has a Tarski module. And then she'll be like, that's your object language, and my meta language is better. Ha ha, your paradox is resolved. An old philosopher's joke. Paradoxes suck. Bobby Fischer versus Gary Kasparov. Gary has the benefit of modern chess theory, so he'd win. But bar none. He was just a brilliant guy. Didn't spell Kasparov right, by the way. And I didn't pronounce it right. Hi, Charles. Who's your favorite Avenger? Iron Man. Iron Man is my favorite Avenger, followed by Doctor Strange in that order. Charles, thank you for introducing me to Norman Borlaug. Life changing. Absolutely. Norman was really special guy, super humble, super nice. And he saved a billion with a B lives. Amazing guy. One person saves a billion people. Magnus Carlsen is the GOAT. Yeah. I think he's Norwegian. I'm quarter Norwegian. All right. Norway pride. Norway in charge. Norway strong. We had the best Vikings. UW alum here. Any chance you'll be in Laramie mid-July? Love to buy a beer at the Buckhorn. I will be up in Laramie pretty soon. I was actually just talking to the president of UW, President Seidel, and we've been discussing a lot of really cool things that we can do together and collaborate on. And we're definitely going to cut a big check for University of Wyoming. So we got to figure out what that means. And they'll, of course, with all negotiations, this and that, this and that. I'd like to set up a smart contract engineering institute, and then we have that damn chip we're doing there. But of course, they want to do some stuff with high performance computing and build a really nice computing group. So there's some negotiations, but we'll get it done. That's what I do for a living. I fund research centers amongst many things, and we're very good at it. We've written, I think, now 105 papers, and those papers consistently get accepted at the great venues like Crypto and Eurocrypt. Hi, Charles. What do you mean to be moral failure when replying to Mark Cuban? All I was saying is don't get too big for your britches. Sometimes people inviting you into your home, you can politely decline that, but don't insult them. Just that simple. Okay? Wasn't asking for money, and fuck if I need it. I have more than I know what to do with. Tim Tebow, come back to football. Okay, I don't follow football anymore, but he's a legacy. So like Tom Brady and Manning and so forth. So he comes from the era when I still followed football before all the craziness came. And it makes total sense to me because here's the thing. He could play water boy, and just by being in the stadium with a uniform on, you're going to get 40,000 people, 50,000 people for the Jaguars because he's a hometown hero. So I think they're having him play tight end, and whether he has one play or none, just his mere presence there will create hype and excitement and so forth. I just don't understand the irrational hatred in the NFL for Tim Tebow. Guys, it's a sport, and it's here for entertainment, and people like the guy, so they follow him, and everywhere he goes, he has a following, and people want to watch him and see him. Does it really matter if he's the greatest player or an average player or a mediocre player? The average lifespan of an NFL player is like 11 months, and they get washed out, maybe 2 seasons, I think, at best. And so you have some guy who's got enough skill to people pay attention to him, and his off-field chicanery is very positive. He has a hospital in the Philippines. He donates to charities all the time. He's a good guy. He's a good human being. You'll never have a scandal there. No, they'd rather have people who beat their wives and murder people and do all kinds of crazy things and get DUIs and so forth. That's apparently the standard of conduct that's okay with the NFL. But then when a Tim Tebow fellow comes around, that as white shirt as you can get, no dirt at all, a very clean guy. He's the worst thing ever, and we all have to hate him. I've never understood it. It's a commercial enterprise. That brand sells. The Jaguars bring him in. Just having him there makes them money more than they spend on him. It's called a good business deal. And they're satisfying their fan base. It's like when Darth Vader appears in Rogue One. It's like when Luke Skywalker appears in The Mandalorian. Sorry to have ruined those experiences for you if you didn't see them, but they're called fan service. So if you can do that, it's not the movie, and he's not the quarterback, right? Think about it. Have some business common sense, people. Do you watch hockey? Saved by Wah! I was a huge Avalanche fan. Man, they were so good. I still follow hockey. I love hockey. Hi, Charles. I'm a fan, and I like IOHK. Do you respect Peter Schiff's views? He's a great mind, also like you. Do you share any of his views? I've known Peter since before crypto. I met him in 2007, back when we called him Dr. Doom, and I was part of the Ron Paul movement along with Tom Woods and all these other guys. And you'd run into him every now and then, and he'd say the same thing he's saying today. U.S. economy is falling apart. The dollar is debased, and inflation is going to destroy us all. Buy gold, buy gold. Only gold is real money. And he had this company called Euro Pacific Capital. And the collapse came in 2008, and so Peter got a lot of investment, and then he lost a lot of money, I think, in the ensuing years. And his fund does okay. It's enough to support his lifestyle. And what really deeply bothers me, though, is that Peter has chosen to integrate himself into our industry as the ultimate contrarian. And he says these bizarre things like, well, you can replicate Bitcoin infinitely, which is not true. It's materially false. You can't. There's only ever going to be 21 million of them. He said, well, but I can clone the code and launch a new one. Yeah, people did that. And it's not as valuable as the original because the value is connected to the use, utility, and user. The more users you have, the more trading you have, the more markets you have, the more use and utility you have. That's where the value comes from. And by the way, as a scarce asset like gold, it has all the properties you know and love about gold with none of the downsides. It's infinitely divisible. You can teleport it anywhere in the world. There's damn near no storage cost. It's programmable, so you can put contingent settlement and pull payments and all kinds of things there into it. But in Peter's world, the only thing that's real is buying a gold coin and storing it under your pillow. And if you have this Bitcoin thing or crypto thing, it's a scam. It's wrong and rah, rah, rah. I just wish he'd grow up. And I just wish he'd catch up with the times. It's one thing if you're investing your own money, but it's another thing when you're a fund manager and they pay you to be a smart guy and invest other people's money. You have to read a book and stay out of 1933. Peter. Finishing PhD in regenerative medicine, tissue engineering next year. Job, please. Well, Crazy Shoes time. I am taking them. Your first task is to find my email address. If you can send me your resume, I'd love to interview you. We are going to do some really cool shit. It's a good question from Jasmine Waldo. Charles, how do you stay so level-headed with all the drama that goes on in the cryptocurrency community? Well, to quote Herman Cain's mother, I does not care. I just don't. There's two kinds of criticism that are levied. One is against me personally as a person, and you'll notice it has no impact at all. People comment on my intelligence. They comment on my looks. They comment on the way I talk. They comment on my weight. They comment on my lifestyle. All you have to do go to 4chan and look at the soy boy threads that they have about me. They say horrible things. It doesn't bother me at all because do they know me? If they think they know me, all they know is the public persona that is me that they see through videos and Twitter, but they've actually ever sat down and talked to me and had a conversation and actually done something. The answer is no. Then the other kind of criticism against me from or my projects or company from people I know and have interacted with that I feel is very unfair. I'm never going to be in a place in my life where that doesn't bother me. Like, I'm not going to lie, the whole Max Kaiser stuff, it was just left field. Max wasn't just some guy. I know Max. I've had dinner with Max and his wife. I've been on a show multiple times. I run into him at probably half a dozen conventions. We've been on panels together. Very friendly rapport. They asked me to sponsor their show. And then just somewhere out of the blue, he compares me with Epstein. Somewhere out of the blue, he just says I'm a scammer and a criminal, wants to create drama. Now, I know why he does it. He wants to get ratings. But then it makes you question your judgment of how can you genuinely like and get along with somebody who is so inhuman, for lack of a better term, that they're willing to throw away a person for a sack of silver. And you say, why did you even think for a moment that you could be friends with a person like this or have a rapport with a person like this? And it makes you question your judgment, and it makes you question your ability to understand people and their motives and why they do what they do, and how friendly you've been. And I've ran into a lot of that in the cryptocurrency space. I've had a rough time. People that I thought to be friends have done some terrible things, and I've just had to deal with it. the other set of criticism that bothers me is when people criticize Cardano or my company unfairly, especially people who have to be in a position of objectivity. You know, to call us a ghost chain, if you're a major publication or a major player in the space, given the community, the $9 billion plus of transaction volume that happens every day, and the fact that we are imminently close to smart contracts and we have a huge community waiting for it, is not only unfair, it's criminally incompetent from an objective position. And just to say that again and again and again, and no matter what we achieve, to discount that achievement. For example, we announced 5 million person deal in Ethiopia. That's a hard deal. It was hard to negotiate. It was hard to build. It took years of trust building, relationship building, and it's not a press release. A person I know very well, who I consider to be a friend, said it was just a press release. It was, is very skeptical of the whole thing. Could have said something conservative like, I'm cautiously optimistic and it's good that we're seeing adoption. And then that's a nice throwaway line. But to go to saying, well, I'll wait and see, I'm just a press release or something, without having the particulars of the deal and knowing me and knowing what we've done and what we've accomplished, that did hurt. And a lot of that still happens. I don't know why some people feel that it's perfectly okay to be so blatantly disrespectful to people for no upside. If it was self-interested and they get something like what Max is doing, I at least understand it. I find it distasteful, but I get it. But to just diss people for the sake of doing so and saying that's good conduct, it makes no sense to me. And I don't stay level-headed for the most part with that. I get upset about it. But there's Charles the person and Charles the CEO, and Charles the person is allowed to get upset. Charles the CEO is not. I work with people that have insulted me. I work with people who have lied about me. I work with ventures who have, I consider to be very bad in some cases, especially in their conduct towards me, if it means that there's a greater good for my company, my employees, or for the Cardano ecosystem. So you have to set ego aside and just have to smile and be with meetings with people who are thoroughly, thoroughly distasteful. That's business. And if you can't do that, you can't be a leader. You don't make peace with your friends. You make peace with your enemies. And you have to stay level-headed there. Now, that said, when you leave the boardroom, you go back to the person, then you can settle scores at some point. Good question, Jasmine. Hi, Charles. I started my first year at uni this year and I feel terrible. Have you ever felt out of your depth while you were studying, and what made you push through? I absolutely did many times in my academic career. You have to be passionate about things that you do. And I understand it's very hard when you're in your first and second year because you're studying a very diverse set of topics. The good news is, because it's a diverse set of topics, if you don't like a particular course, well, that's just telling you you're probably not going to be that particular course, whether it be psychology or sociology or math, whatever have you. But one of the things that really helps you stay balanced is make sure that you don't overload your course load, even if it takes longer to graduate. Practice meditation, be mindful, and try to read a lot. On average, you should be reading about 50 to 100 books per year. Every week, try to read something, or 2 books per year. And different topics, interesting topics, and take a diverse set of courses. Really do. Even if you plan to be a doctor or something like that, well, take a drawing class. One of my biggest regrets when I first started is I didn't do more arts. My life would be immeasurably better if I learned how to watercolor paint, oil paint, and draw. My life would have been immeasurably better if I stuck with the piano. I played until I was about 16, stopped, came back to it for a bit, stopped again. Had I kept going through, I'd be a concert level pianist or close to it right now. And, there were so many moments where that could have paid huge dividends. So keep something in the arts, keep something in music, and find a way to get a nice balance and slow things down if you get overwhelmed. Even if it takes a little longer, everybody lives a little bit longer and it doesn't really matter. if it takes a little bit longer. Just finishing is what matters. And think a lot about where you want to be and what you want to do. And if you don't know, then focus on experiences. Like if you want to be a doctor, go be a paramedic. Go do that for a little bit and go to school part time. See if you like it. See if you really enjoy touching people, having them bleed on you and cough on you, lie to you when you take their history, and all kinds of things that come up. If you can't handle that, you can't be a physician. See, so you learn early and you have a skill and you make money with that skill. There's a dozen more things you can do there. Try not to take things too seriously. Having them curse at you, absolutely. Oh my God. And accuse you of stealing from them and piss on you and vomit on you and all kinds of things. Yeah, you want a piece of humble pie, be a paramedic for a year. Apollo Neuro Band, it's a heart rate variability sensor. I'm actually meeting with the Apollo Neuro team with my dad, my brother, our first Hoskins and biotech meeting. How about that? I'll let you guys know more in a little bit. Air Force has some of the best medical programs. That is 100% true. Go join the Air National Guard. Have some fun. Have you read the Dune Saga? Yes, I have, sir. Some of the best science fiction books ever written. Charles, can you expand on why proof of stake is better than POH? Proof of hash? Proof of human? Proof of hungry? Got to give me more. Hey, Charles, do you need any aquatic animals? I will. Going into the aquaponics business, and unfortunately, those are the eaten type. I am also getting a koi pond installed. So I have a whole bunch of nice little koi, and when I get them, I'll feed them and tweet them. And I'll name each and every one of them. Will we be able to use ADA to purchase your mushrooms? 100%. We've been negotiating with Farm Box Foods, actually. Going to set up a gourmet mushroom farm and a vertical hydroponic farm. Going to go to their facility here in a little bit. They're a startup here in Colorado, and they have some amazing stuff. And I can't wait to get some of these modules, put them together. And I think we'll do 2 this year, 1 mushroom, 1 VHF, and then scale up to 10 by the end of next year if it's good, and just keep building. Got 250 kilowatts of solar power I have to spend somehow. What's your favorite barbecue in Colorado? Go to Georgia Boys a lot. It's a good place. Highly recommend it. Charles, can you explain the art of the wall behind you? Well, that's a wood carving behind me of Odin fighting Fenrir, the great wolf. And he's with his spear on Sleipnir, and he's got his 2 ravens behind him. And Fenrir actually ends up killing him. It's during the Battle of Ragnarok, and he knew he was going to die, but he still went into the battle because Odin was that badass. And then I have a Da Vinci drawing and than a Da Vinci painting. Charles, did you surf in Hawaii? Very badly. My cousin Sean, he's a much better surfer. He's a good kid. Is it concerning that Charles hasn't heard of proof of history? I don't know. I mean, I've heard of permacoin and all of those other things that were storage protocols. Guys, people name shit. I read the papers, but usually the peer-reviewed ones. I mean, basically the idea is that you connect a data set, well, at least in the permacoin sense, was that you have a pile of data and you wanted to create an incentive for people to hold on and to distribute it. So basically, you say that the only way you can do a proof is that you need to actually preserve some of the leaves on a Markle tree, and they're picked at random. So you can't predict them ahead of time. So the only way that you'll be able to participate in all rounds is by having the entire history, or at least a significant subset of it. So it gives you incentive to possess a hard drive full of all this data. So there's a lot of problems about how do you make it dynamic, and then also how do you incentivize data relay, not just data preservation. So I'm familiar with these types of things, and I think about these types of things because you use dynamic erasure codes and all kinds of cool stuff. Elaine Shi is one of the people who does that. But then there's other like proof of history and rah, rah, rah. I don't know. You know, good for you. Go do it. Put it with IPFS and make some money. Do you like Metallica? The Wicker Man thinks so. Yeah, they're a good band. Not as good as Megadeth. No, no habla español. How large can a blockchain file be? As big as you want it to be. Blockchains can be in the exabytes. What's your best accomplishment? Building a relationship with all you guys. It's actually been the privilege of a lifetime to see a community grow and mature. I recently got a letter from a 70-year-old woman, and it was the dirtiest letter I've ever read from a 70-year-old woman. She hunted me down and thanked me for all the things I've done. And went to Berkeley. Great gal. Even volunteered to work on my non-existent presidential campaign. And I just absolutely love that I've had an opportunity or privilege to get to know all of you. This is a hard field. There's a lot to do. Got to write papers, got to think real deeply, got to write code, got to compete, got to go to the conferences, presentations, and fight and fight and fight, fight. There's always something going on. And what gives me the strength to keep going is the fact that you guys keep showing up and more of you every year. So thank you for that. And my greatest accomplishment has been curating a community like this and interacting with them in a way that's productive to a point where they make cool NFTs and I get to see the outcome, the output of their labors. The thing that's going to make me happier than anything else in the world is the release of Goguen. Not because it's a major milestone, but because it's actually a foundation upon which the creativity of such an amazing community can actually be unleashed, unlocked to change the world. We're going to wake up and see hundreds of DeFi protocols, tokens, all kinds of cool experiences and interesting things that I never could have imagined or designed, but you can. And to be a witness to all of that, a small contributor to that, to be the first mover in such a big movement is an extraordinary thing. And 10 years from now, 20 years from now, it'll be so much bigger and it'll just humble me. So it's kind of like founding an academic field or something and then coming back 50 years later and seeing how big it's flourished. It's an extraordinary thing. And it's the privilege of a lifetime. So that really is my greatest accomplishment. Almost made me cry. How many people working at IOG and other companies do you estimate directly work on Cardano? At this point, about 200, I think. It's got a very large team, and they're scattered amongst a few different companies, and we take the lion's share of it, over 100. Why do you think so highly of Alex and Ergo? Three reasons. One, he's a super smart guy, Alex, and he's very disciplined and with that intelligence. So he does the things he says he's going to do. Second, he's a really good engineer. And third, he's just a good human being. The entire time I've known him, he's never lied to me and never once tried to take advantage of a situation. And I've known him for 8 years. So I just like what he does. I like how his team works. How is Charles? Well, Charles is good. Thank you so much for asking. I'm actually very relaxed, having a good day. How did you come up with the name Cardano? From Alan. Alan, we named it after Girolamo Cardano, the famous mathematician. Charles, when do you always wake up? Usually around 6 a.m., sometimes 5. One plus one equals a Windows guy. Read Alfred North Whitehead and Bertrand Russell's famous book, Principia Mathematica. They have 2 volumes of it. And the second volume, they finally prove that 1 plus 1 equals 2. What sign is Charles? I am a Scorpio. Scorpio. What is your favorite cheese? Parmesan. Gasp. I know, right? Would you ever go on the Joe Rogan podcast? Yes, sir. We're going to make that happen at some point. Got to do Lex first and probably Tim Pool. Timmy, come on, email our guys. We'll set something up and we'll get around to Joe. Ever been to the Western Slope? Yes, I have. And I managed to get out of it without a meth addiction. Star Trek time. What's my favorite series? Well, thank you so much, Brian, for asking. And my favorite series was indeed DS9. And my favorite character in DS9 was Garrick. Absolutely phenomenally written character. What do you think of the folks at Carnegie Mellon University and the Obsidian Project? I'm going to be there this summer for an internship. Well, Alan, you tell me. Anything at CMU is really good. We're actually setting up an institute over there for formal mathematics under Jeremy Avogad. We just got to figure out the details. Really excited, starting for Lean for mathematicians, and I'm a really big fan of Lean, and that's probably where we'll end up writing Q Adidas. But let me know what the blockchain group is like out there. Also, look at RAML the resource aware ML. There's some great people at CMU who did that work. Literally, no one can read this or the chat. Well, Slevin17, I read your message. Apple or Android? Android. Beer or whiskey? Whiskey. Star Wars or Lord of the Rings? Lord of the Rings. Can Doge be ported in any way or moved to Cardano? If not, could it just be recreated and then burn all the original Doge? You can absolutely port Cardano. Go ahead and issue a Cardano native asset, call it Doge, and do an airdrop in the distribution to Doge. And there you go. All that stuff I pointed out over that 8 minutes with Elon Musk, I should have ended the video this way. I just wasn't that clever. It was early in the morning. I hadn't had my coffee yet. And I should have said right at the end of all of it, or you could just use Cardano. My point I was trying to convey is it's very hard to build good infrastructure, and few and far between do people do it well. There's only a few operations that I really respect. Do you ever deal with self-doubts or anxiety? All the time. Very neurotic person. Do you drive? All the time. Fast cars. Love them. Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings? Game of Thrones up to season 6, maybe. You really Charles Hoskinson, or is this a fake? Actually, this is a very sophisticated deep fake. What's in the safe? It's empty. It's a decoy safe. Charles, John, or Paul, Coke or Pepsi? Paul McCartney and Coca-Cola. Do you take lion's mane in the morning? I love lion's mane so much. I wrap myself in a lion's mane blanket and I say, good night, lion's mane. And it tells me, good night, Charles. Why Wolfram and not Chainlink? Because Steve is a good friend and Wolfram's a great company. And Wolfram doesn't have an army of trolls that attack me over the internet for no particular reason. I mean, seriously, guys, what do you want to accomplish? You're a layer 2 application. It means you're multi-chain. Work with everybody. For the love of God. Rah. Godfather or Goodfellas? Goodfellas. You jelly? What about peanut butter and jelly? Charles, thoughts on milk thistle as an effective liver cleanser? I am not qualified to answer that question. Remember, the 5th of November is your birthday. Yes, that's true. It's also Guy Fawkes Day, which is why I'm a revolutionary. Am I a Ron Paul fan? I'm a Ron Paul fanatic, sir. Vodka was born in Russia or Poland. Well, it depends on who conquered who. Onion soup or mushroom soup? Mushroom soup. Peanut butter and honey. Oh, God, no. No, no, no. That's a no-no. Don't you be mixing peanut butter and honey, sir. Ugh. You consume different things with peanut butter and honey. Now, peanut butter and jelly. What are the donkeys' names? Prince and Piper. Almond milk. Favorite Space Marine chapter? Finally, a question that wins the internet. God damn, sir. Thank you. Thank you. The Dark Angels. Mumble Rap or Orange Goblin? What do you think about the role of religion in life? It's something that gives people hope, guides them, and strength when they need it. It's a very useful mental crutch. Hulk Hogan or Macho Man Randy Savage? Those are some legends and fighting words, but oh yeah, I'm with Macho Man Randy Savage. He's my boy. Ever without a beard? I have been, and there are pictures on the internet to prove it. What's been your biggest challenge in life? Building IO Global. Oh my Lord. The same kind of music you do, just on much better speakers. Favorite villain of all time? Ooh, that's a hard one. Lately, it's been Thanos. Come on, that guy's awesome. How do I like my V-Lite device? I really do enjoy it. It does work. What's it like to be a billionaire? If you started from scratch with no contacts or money, how long would it take to make $1 million? It took me about 3 years from when I started my first cryptocurrency company to becoming a millionaire. And I was first a billionaire in 2017, very, very briefly. And markets collapsed and everything went to hell. But, I was doing okay. And then I became a billionaire again in 2021. It's a surreal experience because if you want to, you can live in a way where you're completely isolated from all of society. You don't have to talk to anybody. You don't have to interact with anybody. You can just be the wizard behind the curtain, and you can be completely delusional into believing you're so special that you deserve that. Or if you want, you can just be integrated into society and go to work still and go to the restaurant still. And most people don't pay attention to you, know who you are. And so as a consequence, you just kind of fade in. You do lose touch with things. Like when you're a millionaire, you can go to the grocery store and you can fill up your whole shopping cart. You don't really care how much that costs. It was a really surreal experience for me because I used to have to budget with groceries and gas. Only $20 for gas today or something like that. And then you become a millionaire and you're like, well, I don't anymore. There you go. When you become a billionaire, you can just start doing some crazy stuff. Like you can say, okay, I'm just going to leave a $500 tip at this restaurant. Why not? You don't really think about it because actually it has no implication or impact on anything. And then you find yourself just hiring some people, not because necessarily you need them, because you just feel like I should create some jobs. I should take care of some people and so forth. It also gives you the ability to become a custodian of things you love. If you're worried, for example, that something historical is being broken or destroyed or lost, you literally found a society just to preserve that record. You can save, ancient artifacts from being looted or destroyed by, ISIS, for example, things like that. So you can just do all kinds of things that you want to do. You get to meet people too. So, for example, just recently, I remember a long time, I used to watch The Biggest Loser. Jillian Michaels, she was one of the people on The Biggest Loser. And I just said, oh, she's a cool gal, really smart, really good at what she does. Apparently, she's an Ada fan and, was going toe to toe with Mark Cuban over Ada. Go figure. Justin Roiland has reached out to me from Rick and Morty. I watch Rick and Morty just like you guys do. And to have like the guy who does the voice of Rick and Morty reach out to you, say, hey, I'm an Ada fan. It's a surreal thing. You get to meet the musicians. And in many cases, if you want them to play, they can have a private party. So that's one of the superpowers you have when you get to B land instead of M land. And it's something that you have to be really careful to stay grounded with, because there's no one to say no to you at that point. and there you have to be very self-disciplined at that point. Um, Outside of that, you still wake up with pain. I have currently a gout attack today. It's got at my damn left ankle. You know, you still have animals, you still have the regular things. Everything is exactly the same in that respect. And there's no moment when you wake up and you're just like, wow, everything's different. And now I'm a different human being and I've achieved some form of great enlightenment. Reality is I haven't and never will, because no one ever does. Human beings were tribal creatures that are addicted to status and power and addicted to titles and things. We surround ourselves with all these things to justify ourselves and create hierarchies, artificial hierarchies. Why? Because they get you laid. They get you good food. They get you survival. It's built into our DNA, this human desire for status. And the most enlightened people are the people who find a way to escape that end desire for status and they get away from it. And instead, they find higher pursuits in life to chase and do. And they also don't get addicted to loss. They don't get in love with this concept of permanence. They understand loss is a thing. One of the best things that ever happened to me was getting fired from Ethereum. First, because I don't think I'd ever get along with some of the people there, and we just have radically divergent ways of doing things. It's not a dig on them. It's just I do things the Charles way and they do things their way. And that's okay. Diversity is a good thing for society and results in a lot more innovation and creation when you enable that. But second, it taught me something, that even though you think you are something, it can be taken from you so quickly. Imagine if whatever job you're doing, you show up tomorrow and you find out that was the last day you got to do that job and now you have to do something else. And that's that. I know a surgeon who developed Parkinson's, and he identified his whole identity as a surgeon. And then suddenly he develops a neurodegenerative condition and he can't operate anymore. So there was a final day. And he said, all right, for the good of the patients, even though I love this, I want to do this, this is my identity. Can't do it anymore. I have to let it go. So being able to move on, let go, understand that you're a custodian of things. You're judged in life for the things that you have and what you did with those things is a super important attribute. When you become a billionaire, you have the ability to influence a lot of people's lives and society as a whole. You can have laws changed. You can empower people to do great things. You also can destroy people. You can give people too much. It's a lot of power. And if you give some random person too much of it, they go crazy. Look how many people got destroyed from the lottery. So when all the scales get balanced, when you go and meet Anubis and see the great alligator, you believe in Egyptian mythology, and I try to mix it up from time to time. The great question will be, what did you do with what you were given? And who did you do it for? And if you can't give a good answer for that, no amount of prestige, title, money, or other things in the world is ever once going to save you. You're going to get devoured, and rightfully so. That's the lesson that I've learned. That, and Steve Miller's a pretty cool guy. All right. So let's go ahead and do my favorite part of the show. Speaking of giving back. So for the new people who have never seen this before, one of the things that I do is I lend to a wonderful organization called Kiva. Oh, looks like the one I selected earlier today has already been selected. Okay, so we have to start over. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So 1 second. Share screen. Wow. There we go. So Kiva is a microfinance website. Absolutely love these guys. They're just great. And what they do is they allow you to give loans to people all across the world. So for example, when you go over lend category, Let's look at Eastern Europe, for example. Okay, hang on. Now let's pick a country. How about Albania? Just as an example. And then you can see all the people in Albania that are looking for loans. So, you have Angela, and you say, what do they want here? She's 25 and she's mom with 3 little daughters. She lives in a small village and she works in a shoe factory. And her husband is in a vehicle graveyard, and during his days off, he collects scraps. Her husband's a scrap merchant. She wants to buy a cow, and they have some land and used for feeding the cow and her family, and have some dairy products to consume and sell. Okay. And what's she looking for? She needs a total of $2,950, and there's $1,000 to go. So that's an example of a lending program. And they're all over the world. So let's have you guys have some say. Where should we donate? What part of the world? Come on, give me some ideas. Countries, continents, topics. Moldova, Oklahoma City, Latvia, Mexico, Romania, China, India, Philippines, Haiti. You know what? Let's see what we got in Haiti. Okay, so let's go over here. That'll be in the Caribbean. That's probably in the North American continent then. Haiti it is. What do we got in Haiti? We got Gary in Haiti. Hey, Gary, how you doing? He needs $1,425, and he's running a grocery store. So let's read his story. More about this loan. Let's see. Gary increased his stock of rice, millet, sugar, which he sold crisply. He's requesting a new loan to increase supplies of milk, maize, and corn. 12-month term, disbursement date April 14th. He's already got 2,700. Well, shit. Let's do it. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing real quickly to sign in. Take my glasses off. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to lend the full amount to Gary. How you doing, Gary? Maybe I can lend more. That's 500. Lend now. Proceed to checkout. Okay. PayPal. Okay, got to enter a code right here. Just a second. Alrighty. Let's see here. Sorry, I've never logged into PayPal before on this device, so I have to enter in a special security code just for that. Okay, check out. Boom. All right, let me share my screen again. Okay, so we just gave a loan to Gary for $1,400. There we go. Thank you for supporting Gary. And let's take a look at our loan portfolio. So go to my portfolio and let's see who's doing what where. So I've made 8 loans so far. So I've done one for every AMA recently. And we have a loan in Togo, one in the Philippines, one in Mexico, one in Peru, one in Kenya, one in Cambodia. And we also have Senegal. And you'll notice that they're starting to repay. And actually pretty good. Almost all 6 of the 7 have actually made payments back. The Senegalese group is having a little trouble because there's some things going on there. And Gary is the most recent one. And so far I've lent out $4,675. And we have about 4,200 in outstanding loans. How about that? So one of my goals is that Cardano will have a peer-to-peer microfinance capability. And then you guys not only can lend, but actually make interest, far more than you would from a normal bond or something like 5-10%. And if we can structure it the right way, we can actually not only cut out the middleman, but also put sovereign guarantees in and all kinds of things to get very high repayment rates, like above 90%. And I think this alone will result in billions of dollars being put into the developing world, helping a lot of people and making people's lives a lot better. So you'll also notice that a lot of regions are zoned off. Like, I don't think I can lend to Ethiopia or Afghanistan or other places. And that's not because there's no one there who wants a loan. It's because of infrastructural issues or capital controls or other things that are preventing those markets from working properly. And so one of the cool things about a peer-to-peer lending system that's truly peer-to-peer and it's there for you, you can lend to anybody in the world, and the law does not care. Okay. Well, anyway, everyone, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for listening. I enjoyed it, hopefully as much as you enjoyed listening to it. And I will see you soon. See you for Cardano 360 soon. Cheers.